It's 2010. I'm driving on the 405 freeway again. I'm with my 18-year-old son, high-functioning autistic Josh. We're on our way to North Hollywood, which could be an hour drive, lots of times, whereas a 3-hour drive in this traffic. Josh needed to get to North Hollywood because he was in the last pilot of the UCLA Peers program. The Peers program is a social skills program that was developed at UCLA to help teens and adults. I'm driving and I'm thinking about peers, and I'm thinking about something that Dr. Alex Gantman had told me, which was that we should encourage Josh to join a club. I was thinking about that and an idea hit me. What better club to join than Toastmasters? Hi, I'm Judith Uttal, and I'm a distinguished Toastmaster, and this is my story of my journey. And we all write our own stories, and we can write exciting stories, we can write boring stories, and when you choose to do something different out of your comfort zone, that's when your exciting stories start. So I'm going to tell you my story. It started with that idea in 2010. It took me 2 years to get the courage, the tenacity to start my speech craft. We did it in 2010. I was working at Amulex. We had 11 speech crafters that were all on the spectrum and 16 volunteers from 5 different clubs. Now, the reason I thought this was such a good idea was because I felt Toastmasters address the deficits of somebody on the autism spectrum. Typically, they have communication issues like poor conversation skills, or maybe a difficulty understanding other people's perspective. And maybe they also, because of that and other things, lack a good social community. Maybe they don't have close friends, or the quality of their friends aren't good, or they're isolated and they sit around and play video games. With Toastmasters, you increase your awareness of communication, you get better at listening, you get better at understanding other people's perspective, you learn in a structured environment, which a lot of times is nice for somebody on the spectrum, and you get to build a community and build friendships. So that summer was amazing. This is just 4 of the stories. I have a presentation that goes into a lot more detail, but just to highlight, let's talk about Chase down below. Chase's problem was he was so shy. He was actually a wonderful speaker, but he was so shy that he wouldn't present to the whole group. So we had to do a special meeting for Chase with the people he felt comfortable presenting to. And I still remember the wonderful speech he gave about his guitar. Let's talk about Mary Beth up in the corner, courage. Mary Beth was courageous in her topics for her presentations, and one of them was this complicated story of Alex Dumas, who wrote The Three Musketeers. She presented it, and halfway through the presentation, she just froze, and I interviewed her, and we got through the talk. The next person I want to point out is Tammy down below with kindness. Now, Tammy was extremely articulate and gave speeches on the Byzantine Empire. But during the last speech at Speechcraft, Mary Beth decided to readdress that speech on Alex Dumas. And she was going just fine. And then she froze again. She ran out of the room in tears to the ladies' room. Now, I couldn't go jump in there and save the day because I was running a meeting and we had guests from all over. And so that wasn't going to work. And I didn't have to say anything. Tammy chose to go to the restroom and she talked Mary Beth down. Mary Beth came back and finished her speech. Now, autism is a spectrum disorder, and we had one person in the group, Sabad, who couldn't even sit still and listen. So that was our challenge, was focusing on him listening. He recently came back to our Gavel Club just the last month, and he announced that he was one of the celebrities in the last season of Love on the Spectrum. The speechcraft was a success. I measured before and after, and it was great. And it inspired me to chapter 2, which was keep it going, form the Gavel Club, which I did, and I've been running for 10 years. I can't believe I've been doing it this long, but I just love it. We started off in person, and in 2020 went into Zoom. I'm going to tell you a couple stories here. First, there's Lauren. Lauren was in my original speechcraft, so she's been doing this the longest. When we got started, she could not organize her thoughts, and so you never really quite understood what she was talking about. I'll tell you now, she gives some of the best speeches, whether it's on her how to go fishing or all the different uses of her PC. She even recently led a tour of where she lives in Seal Beach for our whole organization, and I hear it was a real hit. There's Richard. Richard now works at Microsoft as part of their Autism at Work program, and he was able to leverage his improved speaking skills to interview. So hats off to Richard, and he said it was because of his experience with Toastmasters that helped him do that. Then there's Martin. Martin started off very depressed because he had been bullied so much, and he lost his mother to cancer young, and his presentations were often very depressed. But Martin turned it around and started talking about happy things, and now he's a very joyous member of our group. There's Eric, who was wonderful. His dad, George, was a member of Toastmasters, and Eric was a fabulous speaker. They moved to Texas, and Eric's father, George, passed away from cancer. Eric has come back and carries his father's memory by attending our Gavel Club meeting. And finally, there's Anthony, who was always very articulate, but he gave a fabulous eulogy to his mom at her memorial, and everybody was blown away. Next, something happened. I met Sasha Zidek. Sasha's a professor at Cal State Fullerton, and she came to our Gavel Club meeting, and she got really excited. And so she submitted a proposal for a grant to the Organization for Autism Research to study the effectiveness of Toastmasters for individuals on the spectrum, and they got it. It was a 2-year study, and they interviewed people, and we plan on doing a speechcraft this summer. And that's the last part. I want to invite you to come back to this meeting on June 14th so you can hear the results of our study, and you can learn how you can volunteer to be part of our speechcraft. Be part of history. This is going to be the opportunity to show that autism and Toastmasters go together, and you can be part of that story to write your own story. Thank you, and it's great to be back.